This is the Voice of the Worker, bringing you the news for May 10th, 2025. This news is current as of 1300 Pacific Daylight Time, 1600 Eastern Daylight Time, 2100 British Summer Time, 2300 Moscow Standard Time, 0400 China Standard Time, and 0500 Japan Standard Time. In breaking news, India and Pakistan have come to a ceasefire agreement that has already been broken just hours after going into effect. Earlier today, United States President Donald Trump announced that India and Pakistan would immediately cease hostilities, with high-level officials from both nations acknowledging the deal. However, according to RT News, at approximately 1549 Greenwich Mean Time, Chief Minister of the Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Omar Abdullah, posted on X, quote, "What the hell just happened to the ceasefire? Explosions heard across Srinagar," end quote. This was followed by another X post from Abdullah stating, quote, "There is no ceasefire," end quote, accompanied by a video appearing to show Indian air defense units engaging aerial targets. 1938 GMT, a spokesman for the Indian Foreign Ministry held a briefing stating that there had been multiple violations of the ceasefire, claiming that the Indian military will be, quote, "giving an adequate and appropriate response," end quote. At 1821 GMT, Pakistani Information Minister Atullah Tarar stated, quote, "Violation of the ceasefire agreement from our side is out of the question," end quote. As of 2000 GMT, the situation on the ground is not entirely clear. We encourage everyone to monitor official Pakistani and Indian outlets for the most up-to-date news on the implementation of this ceasefire and any potential continued violations. Turning our attention to the United States, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has called for a 20% reduction in officers currently serving in the United States Army and Air National Guards. In his statement, Hegseth compared the U.S. Armed Forces in the Second World War with the armed forces of today, noting that at that time the United States had a ratio of 1 general per every 6,000 troops, with the ratio currently being 1 general per every 1,400 soldiers. Hegseth claims this will be the most comprehensive troop reorganization since the congressionally mandated one that occurred in 1986. As we take our first break, please enjoy the American labor song, "Boom Went the Boom."
Had a job at 29 when everything was going fine. Knew the pace was pretty fast, but thought that it would always last. When organizers came to town, I'd always sneer, turn them down. I thought the boss was my best friend. He'd stick by me to the end. Ra, boom, the ain't got a word to say. He chiseled down my pay, then took my job away. Boom went the boom one day. It made a noise that way. I wish I had been wise. Next time I'll organize. I had a little bank account, not very much, a small amount, which to the savings bank I took. All they gave me was a book. I pinched on food, scraped on rent, hardly ever spent a cent. My little savings grew and grew. I thought I'd be a big shot too. Boom, it made a noise that way. There went my hard-earned pay, save for a rainy day. Oh, what a dirty trick. This soup line makes me sick. Where can that banker be? He's eating soup with me. Then finally it came to pass. All I had to eat was grass. The wolf don't bother anymore. He starved to death right by my door. With soup and gas and club and gun, they tried to make the system run. They said, dear friends, now don't get sore. We'll make it like it was before. Ta-ra-ra-boom-dee, it busted up one day. Those guys that stole my pay went flying every way. All that I've got to say, I hope they've gone to stay. Each dog must have his day. Ta-ra-ra-boom-dee.
China and the United States have started a high-level meeting on economic and trade relations today in Geneva, Switzerland. He Lifeng, member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China and Vice Premier of the People's Republic of China, is attending this meeting on behalf of the Chinese people, while U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is representing the United States. These will be the first talks having occurred since the U.S. initiated trade war against the People's Republic of China. According to CGTN, on the 7th of May, the Chinese Foreign Ministry issued a statement that, quote, China is open to dialogue, but any dialogue must be based on equality, respect, and mutual benefit, end quote. The talks are currently scheduled to go until the 12th of May. This is occurring amongst the backdrop of a 9.3% increase in Chinese exports, as reported by the Global Times. These exports total over $314 billion US. As of now, annual Chinese exports are up by 8.1% compared to last year, with imports having declined minimally by 0.2%. The Chinese economic model of socialism with Chinese characteristics has proven itself to be remarkably resilient against U.S. tariffs imposed by the Trump administration in their attempt to strong-arm the Chinese people. Recently, Chinese President Xi Jinping, also General Secretary of the Communist Party of China and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, has called for, quote, pooling the strength of the country's working class and the broad masses of the working people, and translating the grand blueprint of realizing the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation into reality through hard, down-to-earth work, end quote. These statements were made at a gathering celebrating the 100th anniversary of the founding of the All-China Federation of Trade Unions, where the Chinese working class were recognized for the essential leadership role they play in Chinese society. When we return from our final break, we turn our attention to the special military operation, highlighting recent remarks made by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Until then, please enjoy the Chinese revolutionary song, The Red Army Misses Mao Zedong. Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky has demanded that Russia agree to a full and unconditional ceasefire lasting at least 30 days, starting on the 12th of May, according to RT News. Zelensky then stated that he would be willing to begin formal negotiations with Russia, but only when and if a 30-day ceasefire was put into place. It should be noted that Ukrainian leadership has demanded a 30-day ceasefire on multiple occasions over the past months. The Kremlin has been opposed to previous ceasefires due to concern that Kiev would be using the opportunity to reorganize its troops and restock weapons and ammunition for future offensive attempts. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated that Ukraine would, quote, continue their total mobilization, bringing new troops to the front line. They will use this period to train new military personnel and give rest to their existing ones. So why should we grant such an advantage to Ukraine? End quote. Peskov did also note that if they were to implement a ceasefire, then all arms shipments into Ukraine would need to stop for it to be successful. Moscow has reiterated its readiness to begin negotiations with no preconditions, even agreeing to a U.S.-brokered 30-day ceasefire in March of 2025. The ceasefire, which quickly fell apart due to continuous violations by the Ukrainian armed forces. Even as recently as the 7th of May through the 9th of May, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a 72-hour ceasefire in honor of Victory Day. President Putin stated that it would, quote, serve as a catalyst for the start of direct negotiations with Kiev without preconditions, end quote. However, Ukraine's Zelensky disregarded the ceasefire, violating it over 400 times in the designated 3-day period. In other news, Kim Jong-un, leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea, visited the Russian embassy in Pyongyang to mark the 80th anniversary of Victory Day. According to RT, he utilized that time to reaffirm the DPRK's commitment to supporting the Russian Federation against all threats, including what Kim called, quote, the Kiev neo-Nazis, end quote. During a speech, Kim referred to President Putin as one of his, quote, closest friends and comrades, end quote, and when speaking about the special military operation, he stated, quote, the revival of Nazism is a serious threat that can never be tolerated. We condemn this in the most vehement and resolute terms as a hysterical action, one that can only be taken by the Kiev neo-Nazis, end quote. Kim Jong-un then continued to highlight the soldiers of the Korean People's Army that were deployed to assist in the Russian defense of the Kursk region following a large-scale incursion attempt by the Ukrainian army. Several top commanders of the Korean People's Army, who played a decisive role in the Kursk front, were present during Victory Day celebrations in Moscow, where they met with and were thanked by President Putin. This highlighted a new era in relations between the Russian Federation and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. As we leave, we invite you to listen to the DPRK song, We Will Travel One Road Forever. Revolutionary greetings from the Voice of the Worker.